Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas. Hope your holiday season is going well for you. If you're celebrating holiday season, I have through my Patreon page learned a lot about some different tools and different ways to measure things. I've been a paid patron on Bench Addicts patron page. Watched a lot of videos on how things are measured and looking at data, how high are primers, how thick are they, all kinds of different stuff. So anyway, thought I would do a video on some, at least one Christmas present that I got, which is the Accuracy One primer tool. It's basically a tool that can measure a number of different dimensions. Primer seating depth, primer pocket depth, and also primer height, which is really good, because I'm the type of person that needs to know, exactly how I'm going to set my primers. I've done experiments showing there's definitely a sweet spot when it comes to compressing that anvil a certain amount, and so now I pay close attention to that and make sure I have uniform pockets and I'm seating the primer to within the sweet spot window and things like that. So prior to having this gauge, I did a lot of those measurements with different tools, but I'm actually finding that this one is the best one I've used so far for a few reasons. We'll go over that in a little bit. The second tool is this nifty Accuracy One comparator tool. This has again been, I mean, I don't own this, but somebody actually lent this to me to check out, but certainly I'm enthusiastic about it. It does a really rapid job at measuring, basically your ogive measurement for your bullet seating, and in just one little package. I mean, there's other tools that I've used for that, and I'll show you that in a little bit, that take quite a bit of time to kind of set up, and this thing could actually just go through a number of different cartridge sizes right away. I'll show you how that's done here in a little bit too. So anyway, just wanted to introduce you to the two gauges we'll be looking at today, both from Accuracy One, and both what I would consider light years better than some of the ways that I've been measuring things. Maybe not necessarily in the sense of it's getting better measurements, but certainly the efficiency of these tools and just the way that they're operated have been light years better. And I'll go through kind of and demonstrate that in a little bit here in a second. And we'll go ahead and get started with the primer tool. Okay, let's start with the precision priming tool. The gauge is made by iGaging, I'm sorry. It's digital and has an on-off switch, on-off button, a zero set, and you can do inches or millimeters, okay? Pretty simple. What Accuracy One does is they build these sleeves, and you can use different diameter cartridges according to the sleeve. So I have a BR sleeve, or like a 308 Win diameter type sleeve, and then I also have a one for my PPC diameter cases. Okay, and also in addition to that, you get the large rifle primer stem, and you get a small rifle primer stem. Okay, so I think the sleeves are an additional cost, but when you get the gauge and the sleeve, you get the two large and small rifle primer stems. So I have both of those. And let's go with the large, because I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I've been doing with my 308 Win Lapua brass I've been loading for lately. Anyway, you take the stem, and there's one side here with a little bit of a groove of it that kind of fits with the tip of this stem right there, and then you drop the flat side down, chuck it up in there on your gauge, turn that to tighten it down, okay? And then you take your zero block, so this is a little block here that you use to zero the tool, and hit zero, Okay, there you go. So you're at 0. And then you can take, and I uniform these pockets. I think I was looking for about 0.134 uniformity on there. Okay, and so this pocket you can see 134. Okay, this pocket 134. Okay, good, not too bad. 134. Okay, so anyway, as you can see, you can rapidly measure your primer pocket depths. Okay, really quick, really breezy, and it inserts right into the holder, which is set at the diameter of the rim. So it just fits perfectly, gives you a great measurement, and you just hold it in place, and there you go. So I certainly appreciate how quick and easy that is. Previously, to measure pocket depth, I would use calipers, and go ahead and stick the bottom end of the caliper in 134. So it definitely, I think the caliper method gives you valid measurements. It just takes a little bit longer than the accuracy one. And the other thing I noticed when I measure with calipers, I have to pay close attention, because sometimes if I move the caliper in a certain direction, the numbers get thrown off a little bit. Or sometimes if you accidentally stick it in the pocket, the flash hole, sometimes the flash holes will make it a little bit deeper, longer. So, or depending sometimes on where in the pocket you stick the end of your calipers here, it may be a little bit long. Like there's 134.5. So, or let's rotate the brass. Now I got 133.5. Okay. So calipers are not, again, they'll give you, pretty good measurement, but this eye gauge tool, it's pretty much perfect. I mean, it holds the brass piece into place because it's cut to the particular rim. Good digital readout, easy to see, and you can do it rapidly. Okay, so that's the clear advantage of this style of tool. All right, we'll stay with the primer gauge, and this time let's look at primer seating depth. Okay, so once again, you can look at primer seating depth with different tools, but this tool, this is a small rifle primer. So what I have to do, actually, I'm going to turn it off. I'm actually going to take this out and put my small rifle. Oops. Oh, there I go, dropping stuff. 1 second. And so you get the flat end, put that down, and then go ahead and screw that puppy on, turn it on, get your zero gauge, your zero block, and zero it out. Okay. All right. So the cool thing about this is, once again, you seat your primer, and the case rim fits right into the slot there, and you get a very accurate and precise measurement. I set these primers to seat around 8 thousandths, and I primed them all with my Lee ACP, so I'm probably going to get 8 thousandths with very little variance, maybe half a thousandths at most. So here we go, we got an 8.5 there. Measure it again. Oh, now it comes to 8. So it's probably just, 8.5. Pretty minimal variance there that I'm getting with the Lee ACP. That one measured 8.5. But you can see how rapid 8.5 this tool is in being able to quickly measure. Okay, 8.5 again. All right. Now, what I used to use to measure, and again, not the worst things in the world. I mean, I think I was getting good measurements, but like this Holland tool, for example, it does not have a cutout there that fits the rim of your brass. So you have to pay close attention where the tip of the stem is touching. You have to make sure it is right on the middle of the primer, okay? And see how that, okay, so that's telling me 8 thousandths right there, okay? So that's me looking very carefully. Again, you have to kind of have good eyesight too, so I could see people with poor eyesight, or non-corrected eyesight, may not get good readings out of this thing, because you have to really pay close attention to where that needle is on the primer. So now it's telling me 8. Now, here's the other thing. If you accidentally move it a little bit, notice now it's telling me 9. And notice now it's telling me, 0. So notice now it's telling me 4. So if you move this thing around, it's going to give you different readouts, obviously, because now you're kind of at the edge of the primer, or you're now getting onto the actual rim of the brass. So the case head there. So so again, I think the Holland tool is giving me valid data, but you have to really pay close attention, make sure it's right on center, okay? With this tool, that's not the case. You just pop it right in, and it sticks right in. So and that's the clear advantage of this one over the Holland. So what about calipers? That's another way that I've measured primer pocket depth, and that's, again, I think that's fine too. Again, it's kind of the same thing as the Holland. You have to make sure you get your your tip there of your calipers right on the primer, and then push down. Okay, 8 thousandths. Again, so I think, it's giving you a valid readout. It's measuring correctly. Again, 8 thousandths, very reliable, but same issue though. If you put this thing in the wrong place, it's going to give you a different measure, okay? So again, you have to kind of look and pay close attention, make sure it's right on the center. Sometimes if I move the calipers itself a little bit one way or the other, it kind of goes a little bit off, so gives me a little bit different measurement. So anyway, again, I've been measuring a lot with the calipers and the Holland. I just make sure it's right there in the middle, and I pay close attention. With this tool though, you don't have to do that at all. I mean, it's just a really rapid, throw it in there. I can measure 5 really quick. And so I've just been thoroughly impressed with the sheer efficiency of this tool, and it is just definitely taken a lot of time off of my reloading practices, and it makes it go a lot faster. So I think, to me, that's the main advantage of these really nice gauges. Also, really digital readout that's easy to read, and with a large font is good for people who struggle to see small font. All right, and one of the final features of the primer gauge is that you can actually measure primer height. Okay, so honestly, the way that I used to do it was with calipers and another device I'll show you here in a sec. But I would have to kind of hold the primer in order to get a measurement. Sometimes the primer itself would slip out. Not a real efficient, great way of doing it. One other way that I've done it, is with like a micrometer. Okay, so get the micrometer out, slide the primer in, slowly close it so I don't crush the anvil, because I'm really trying to measure the height with the anvil. And then there, it kind of locks in place. Okay, there we go. Yep, 0.117. So notice how long that took. I mean, that was definitely something that can take a long time. Measuring with this, you have to have good, very acute handling with your fingers, which I know a lot of people don't have. And so not very efficient. With this tool, you get your zeroing block. You zero it out. You take this, you hold it down, you drop a primer into there. Okay, like that. Drop the primer in, take your zero block, put it in there, hold it, and now you get your primer height, 0.1165. Okay. Let's do another one. Okay, again, pull that down, put the primer in, get your block, hold it in, 0.116. Okay, for that other primer. So there you go. You can do 3 major functions with this, all done way faster than any other methods that I know about, and very simple. And this way you can easily get, what's my primer cup depth, if I need to uniform them, how much do I need to uniform them to, measure them afterwards or during the uniforming process to make sure you're getting them the right depth. When I see my, what's my primer height and what's the cup height. Well, something else, you can look up the cup height, but this will give you overall primer height. what's my overall primer height, and then if you're like me, I've done testing and experimentation that shows there's an optimal amount of anvil crush, anvil compression. Some people call it crush, but I call it compression because you're really just compressing the anvil. And so I like to know all these measurements so that I can set my primer depth to a certain degree, and I can measure that with that. So I can measure my primer pocket depth, my primer overall height, and my primer seating depth with this. And so I can know all those variables, and then I can set my anvil to be compressed right within the sweet spot. I found a really good sweet spot in there of anvil compression with the extensive testing that I did, and could do that all here, bam, with one tool. I don't need to have this, I don't need to have this, I don't need to have that Hollins, and all of the inefficiencies and error that goes along with these other tools. This tool right here makes up for it and eliminates and mitigates all of that error and makes the process way more efficient. So very stoked about it, highly recommend it. All right, let's look at the Accuracy 1 comparator tool. Okay. Again, I mentioned the huge advantage with the priming tool is efficiency. I mean, it's just taken light years off of my loading, being able to use a tool that is super efficient. It's also extremely accurate and just very precise. So this is the same thing. This comparator tool, very similar to the concept of the primer tool, has an eye gauge and gauge. Same thing, digital on-off switch, inches or millimeters, and 0. Okay, and it has the same kind of concept. It has a sleeve that goes over. Now, the cool thing about this is, and again, extreme efficiency, is I can use a number of different cartridges with this one sleeve. What I have been doing, and I'll show you that right now, I've been using the Hornady comparator tool. You probably have heard of it. It's very popular. They're numbered, so 3-24, that's 243. So this is for like a 6 millimeter. Let's say I'm switching from 6 millimeter to 30. I then have to find the 30, which luckily I actually just found in my first one I grabbed. It never happens that way. I always grab all of them but the right one. You have to unscrew it. Okay, and then you have to put the 30 on, screw it back on. You have to put it on your calipers. Okay, well, here, let me center it a little bit better. There we go. And then you have to zero out your calipers, okay? And then what you have to do is put that puppy in there, and then you have to kind of it takes a little bit of an art to make sure it's set up correctly. What I do is I turn it a little bit, and then that settles the case head on the caliper, and then I get a really good reading at that point. So 1.748. Okay, so notice how long that took for me to have to set that up, and then to also look at and measuring. Okay, 1.748. So it takes a little bit of time to get this thing set up, and then to get an accurate measurement. I have to make sure, I turn the brass a little bit, very slowly at a time, to get it centered on the tool. So anyway, and then if you have to change bullet sizes, you have to go ahead and unscrew this. And so let's say I'm going back to 6 millimeter now. I'm done looking at my 30s. I put the 6 mil on, crank that puppy down, okay, and then put this on. Let me zero it again. Okay, and then I pull out my 6 millimeters. These are 6 ppc, and then again I have to kind of turn it to get it to measure so 1.7605. Okay, see how long all that takes. All right, now let's look at the Accuracy 1 here in a second. Okay, let's look at the Accuracy 1 comparator. There's a few different bodies that fit different cartridges, but the number 2 body it's the majority of the cartridges that I use. Okay. And what it does is it gives you a measure of headspace to bullet O-drive. And here's how you use it. So just chuck in the bullet, 527, 527, 527. Okay. That's as easy as it gets. You just chuck it up in there, 527, 527, 527. Okay, so you can see how rapid you're able to get that measurement and repeatability of the tool. Now let's say, well, I want to check my 30 VRs real fast. Okay, well, just, there you go. 649, 649, 649. Okay. So, well, 308 Winchester. Okay, I loaded some for that. This body fits a number of different cartridges. 632, 634. Ooh, a little bit off there. 2000 off. So see, it's 634.5. So there you go. It gives you extremely rapid measurements, number of different cartridges, and uses the same eye gauging interface there. So you could just, purchase the eye gauge with the body, and then let's say you wanted to go get the priming bodies. You can then just purchase the bodies, and all fits on the same gauge. It's just the eye gauge. So there you go. Accuracy 1 gives you a number of options. These are great tools, and highly, highly, highly recommend. Okay, thanks everyone. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. And, I normally don't do product videos. I try to stay out of that, stay out of kind of that whole product evaluation thing. Sometimes I get kind of roped into it. Sometimes I get a product and I think it's so damn good that, I should go ahead and make a video. So this was the sort of latter case where, I got my hands on these tools and I was quite amazed at how efficient, extremely efficient they were, and what a great job that they do in measuring everything they're supposed to measure, all in one tool, and conveniently able to measure a number of different things without having to change configurations often and other things. So very simple, easy, seamless, and very much appreciate Accuracy 1 for the products they're putting out. So please give them a look if you have. Hopefully Santa will bring you some of these nice fancy tools here to your loading bench. Merry Christmas, everybody. And again, please come on over to my Patreon page and join. We have a lot of good stuff going on, great conversations, good sharing of information. In fact, one of my paid patrons sent me the comparator gauge to look at. We have just a wonderful exchange there, and we're all interested in, just improving our things on our loading bench, our shooting, all kinds of things, and things are going really well there. And also, paid patrons, we do have a lot of other really cool things that we do, giveaways and things of that nature. So I've already given away Area 419 PRS style, tactical style front bag that clamps onto an Arca rail, some brand new Vortex hats, all kinds of different cool stuff. So, we're just trying to do some cool stuff on there and stay engaged and learn new things. So hope to see you there. Take care. Merry Christmas, everyone.